Hello and welcome, or welcome back to Language, Culture, and Dr. Lou. And today, let's chat about all the different Valentine's Day traditions and customs from different countries in the world. There's plenty of countries where we do celebrate something on February 14th. And it's not always exactly the same as each other, now is it, in different cultures? So let's talk about it. And so I'll be going over Valentine's traditions from 10 different countries around the world. I know there's about 200 of them, but I figured I would limit it to just 10 to make this video a little more digestible and not take 3 hours, you know? And so, what's up with Valentine's Day in different countries? Let's start, I guess, right at home with the US. And in the United States, I guess you could say that we do Valentine's Day kind of like we do everything, meaning we overdo it and we go really big. And that's the thing in the US. It's always about uh, going to great extents to spoil your husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your lover, however you want to put it. And so, yeah, we do go all out in terms of getting them a nice meal or maybe chocolates or other sweets, or possibly jewelry and other gifts and all that. But to me, when I was researching for this video, I found one really interesting thing that makes the US stick out from other places is how very many of these those hard sugary candies that have little messages on them like my love or be mine, and things like that. We eat more of them than anybody else in the world. We produce a whole lot more of them than anyone else in the world. Like I said, we do a lot of things overboard. And to me, that's really funny. And it's funny to me why we would have these around because it's not even like they're great tasting as compared to all the chocolates and other candies that go around for Valentine's Day or the cookies or anything like that because they're all made of, sugar and food coloring, as far as I can tell, because they don't really taste so different one to the next. Although maybe there's some brands that do that better, but yeah. So those little hearts are so uh, popular in the US, but to me, it's kind of funny because they don't taste so great. They taste like a hard brick of sugar, pretty much. Which reminds me of, and by the way, that's interesting to me that more of these candies are sold for Valentine's Day than any other kind. That's interesting to me. Kind of reminds me how the most widely sold candies, the most sold candies for Easter in the US are Peeps. Those little marshmallow uh, chicks, the marshmallow little birdie things and whatnot, which also don't have much of a flavor besides just marshmallow. The marshmallow with colored sugar around them. But anyway, so I guess to Easter's peeps, these little so-called conversational hearts are Valentine's answer. Anyway, so that to me is kind of funny how in the US we have more of those things than anybody else. And by the way, near the end of the video, I will give you another fun fact about those little hearts. But first, we got 9 more countries to talk about. And so the second one I want to talk about is France. And of course, lots of lovers do go to France to do Valentine's Day and go out on a really nice date, having a nice meal at a good French restaurant. It sounds like a lovely idea for Valentine's Day to me. And but the most notable thing about Valentine's Day in France is that the first ever Valentine ever recorded was from the 15th century in France, actually. And this was Charles, the Duke of Orleans, who was actually imprisoned in the Tower of London at the time. And because he had just lost a battle. But anyway, he was captured and then imprisoned. And so while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, there, he actually wrote the world's first Valentine, which was a poem to his lover. And he referred to her as my Valentine. And so that was the beginning of a long tradition of Valentines. And so this one goes all the way back to the 15th century and um, a duke who was in prison and all that. So that to me is pretty interesting and a decent little bit of history for Valentine's Day for you. And so, what about elsewhere in Europe, in Germany? They do celebrate Valentine's Day in Germany too. And there's a funny thing about it. Hold on, excuse me. Okay, I wanted to mute that. I'm not wanting to ever be coughing in your ears. But anyway, interestingly, in Germany, of course, they celebrate Valentine's Day, as you can see in a couple of the pictures here. And what's really popular are ginger cookies, heart-shaped ginger cookies, as you can see in some of these things. And by the way, the one all the way to, well, my right, but to the left of me up there, that says I love you in German. Of course, not in English, but in German. But anyway, so these little frosted heart-shaped ginger cookies, super popular in Germany for that. And the one thing that came to me that I learned that is the most interesting and the most unique about Germany's version of Valentine's Day is that in Germany, a symbol for luck and for lust is the pig. So pigs are used a lot in Germany, and so lots of people are getting like pig-shaped presents of all sorts and whatnot. And also there are lots of pig-shaped marzipan candies, like you can see in the picture, all the way down below me in the bottom corner there. And so that to me is funny. I never thought of a pig as a symbol of luck or lust or anything, or associated it with Valentine's Day in any way. But hey, um, I guess having things with pig symbols around might help you get lucky on Valentine's Day in Germany. But yeah, so that's really interesting to me and much more surprising than the conversational hearts from the US. Maybe that's just my American bias showing through. So where else has Valentine's Day? Oh, lots of places, including Peru. Now, in Peru, one thing notable about Valentine's Day in Peru is that it's during the Carnival season, which means that most people have February 14th off from work. And did you know that once in a while Mardi Gras ends up following on February 14th when it's a Tuesday and the right one? Seen that happen before. And I'm just mentioning that because it's related to the carnival season anyway. And so interestingly, in Peru, there's a lot going on Valentine's Day. For one, they're not really exchanging roses so much. In the US, we like to give someone a dozen roses or maybe 2 dozen, however many you can afford, I guess. But in Peru, they exchange orchids, which are their national flower. So it makes some sense from that point of view. And they're also very beautiful. So orchids are often exchanged rather than roses in Peru for Valentine's Day. And but the two other things that surprised me were one, the dog weddings. it's such a common thing to have dog weddings in Peru where you dress the dogs up in wedding costumes, like marriage costumes and all that, and then go through this adorable little ceremony where the pet's owners are putting the uh, dog's paws on a marriage certificate, a so-called marriage certificate, and all that. And so I think that's an adorable tradition right there, even though if the dogs don't understand what marriage really entails necessarily. It's adorable. The people are getting to do all these little ceremonies with their dogs. As long as their dogs don't mind it, I'm all good with it. Anyway, and now, the other thing that's interesting that happens in Peru for February 14th for Valentine's Day is they have a lot of mass weddings, including some mass dog weddings, but I'm talking humans this time mostly. And the mass weddings, so you can have a wedding where hundreds of people are getting married at the same time. They're all saying I do to each other on the same time, which is adorable for what is supposed to be the most romantic day of the year. Anyway, the most love obsessed day of the year. Anyway, after all, that's what Valentine's Day is all about. And so, where else we going to talk about to see what they do for Valentine's Day? Oh, let's go to Asia now. And in Japan and in South Korea, um, they celebrate Valentine's Day in a similar way on February 14th, which is very weird as compared to how we Westerners celebrate it. Very surprising, one would even say. And one thing, one place this comes from is a silly misinterpretation slash mistranslation of way back in 1950s Japan. We had I think it was a British confectionery company anyway. It was an English speaking confectionery company, pretty sure from Great Britain and not from the US. Um, and they wrote to them because they wanted to push this very commercial holiday and push to get a lot of sales in Asia as well. And so they wrote specifically, these chocolates are intended for women, thinking that, oh, we're going to say these are a bunch of chocolates that you should buy and then give to a woman, give to your woman anyway. And but the Japanese interpreted it quite differently than that. They actually interpret it as um, the women are the ones buying the boxes of chocolates up and then giving them to men. And this tradition also caught on in Korea, aka South Korea. That's one I'm talking about because actually North Korea doesn't do any Valentine's Day because they're all uh, pushing away any Western influence. So any Western influenced holidays or anything, that's a big no-go in North Korea. So this is in Japan and South Korea specifically. And so it's women who are giving the chocolates, and these days also plenty of other kinds of presents to the men they love, and also sometimes to family members, friends, and coworkers, just to show them a little appreciation for them and all that. And so that's what goes on February 14th. Now, uh, that's okay. It's not like women are getting totally left out of the getting of stuff for this time of year, because actually there is another holiday that got born from this misunderstanding slash mistranslation, and that is known as White Day. And so this will be the day when the men give presents and chocolates and all that kinds of stuff to the women. And of course, it seems timely because that is exactly 1 month after Valentine's Day. So it's on March 14th, and that is known as White Day. So don't worry, so Japanese and Korean women are not being totally left out of the getting stuff this time of year. But they do have to wait a month after they do all the giving on February 14th. They wait a good month, and now um, they're doing the getting on March 14th. Luckily, it's the shortest month of the year that they're doing the waiting for. Anyway, so exactly 4 weeks. But yeah, so that's the deal with Valentine's Day and White Day in Japan and South Korea. And again, North Korea does not participate in this because it's a very Western influenced holiday. And I get that. It's very commercial and whatnot. Anyway, so what else did I want to mention? Also, Finland and Estonia, which are right near each other, actually. I took the shortest flight I ever took was from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, to Helsinki, the capital of Finland, and it was just like up in the air and down. Like honestly, I don't think the whole flight could have lasted more than 15 minutes. And scariest flight, so many airplanes coming so close to ours, so I would not recommend that to anybody. But that's long way out of the way to say that Finland and Estonia are really close to each other. Finland is just fairly north of Estonia. With a little bit of water in between. And so, what they celebrate on February 14th is a lot less about romance and love and stuff like that. They made it into Friends Day, which I have Friends Day. Well, the term in Finnish is right below the Finland Finland flag, which is the um, blue cross on the white backdrop and all that. And then I also have the Estonian term for this holiday, which is right below the Estonian flag, which is the blue, black, and white stripes, anyway. And either way, it translates pretty directly to Friends Day. So they do a lot of celebrating of friendships and love of friends and all that. So it's not just about romance and romantic love on that day for them. I think that is pretty cool. Um, and but there also are lots of fun little traditions that go along with that, like some gifts get given out, and even some take people do this anonymously or anything, which sort of um, yeah, reminds me of certain other places in the world how they celebrate Valentine's Day, and it's nice that a lot of places are getting friendship and amicable kind of love as opposed to just romantic love and all that. So that's cool to me. And a similar way of celebrating it is done in Guatemala, and where they have, and I have the two different ways that this day is called in Spanish, right above the English version of it, which is the Day of Love and Friendship. And so again, it's not just about romantic love, although they do some concentrate somewhat on romantic love on this day in Guatemala, but it's also about friendship. Like there are um oh, and I've also got Colombia in here, but I put that in a parenthesis because Colombia doesn't celebrate it on February 14th. They do celebrate the Day of Love and Friendship, but they do this, I think, to avoid commercial congestion. They do this on the third Saturday in September, but still, it's the Day of Love and Friendship. So it's bringing very much friends into the mix as far as what's important for Valentine's Day and well, whatever date they're celebrating it on. And and you do get these people giving anonymous friend presents, like you'll be somebody's secret friend, and so that maybe they don't even know who it's coming from until after the fact. But anyway, yeah, that's to me very interesting that Finland and Estonia and Guatemala and Colombia have all sort of taken this tradition where that a lot of countries based solely around romantic love, and also extended it to friends and friendship because I think that's an important kind of love and an important kind of relationship too. So anyway, I'm very much okay with that. And so that was now 10 countries, all the ones I wanted to talk about. And I did promise to bring up a fun fact about these so-called conversation hearts. That we seem so obsessed with in the US. And again, there's more of these sold than any other kind of candy, which is surprising because these aren't the first thing I think of when I think of Valentine's Day candies, but they pretty much are all the way in the always in the background, right? But so the fun fact about this is not just that there's more of these sold than any other kind of candy in the US for Valentine's Day, also that did you know there's so many of these produced every year around Valentine's Day that it would be enough for every single person in the world to have one. That was yeah, that was the little fun fact. So we Americans are so obsessed with these little silly sugar hearts that have little messages on them that we produce enough in the world that it would be enough for the whole world's population to have one. Although, again, we Americans do stuff to excess, so there's probably not enough left over for everybody else in the world now, is there? Once we're done with them. Anyway, so there you go. And there's your fun fact for Valentine's Day for you. And it's all about these silly little sugary hearts. Anyway, and so thank you so much for watching this video about Valentine's Day. I really appreciate that. And please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, all we do here is stuff about language and culture. So if that might be something you're interested in, please do consider subscribing to the channel. And so, yeah, and if you do, you will certainly get to hear from me in my next video. And so I'm looking forward to talking to everybody then in my next video. And so until then, happy Valentine's Day. Bye bye.